Alright folks, some people have been asking how the hell you remove this. And by the way, this moving like this, a little bit, that's normal. A lot of people think that's bad, and it's not. When it clamps, it locks in place, and these two kind of align each other. But, anyways, I'm going to show you how to pull this off. I'm going to do this easy way. Alright, I grabbed 2 pins. That's it, remove the nut. Just like that. Alright. Now there's a little retainer clip in there. You'll take a screwdriver and remove that, and I'll get back to you in 1 sec when I get it out. Alright, so here it is. This isn't pressed in or anything. This is just basically to create some tension so that nut never comes loose. It's like a lock washer. So anyways, I'll show you how to do this next. For this part, you're going to want to take these bolts out and pull this cover off. Give me 1 sec. So next I'm going to just take this, twist it, pull it off, and just let this hang. On the other side where our pin is, I'm going to push it in, and we're going to lose the, this is going to come out in a minute. So hold on 1 sec. Now watch out, because under this pin, okay, there's a ball bearing in here, and when we push this pin in on the other side, the ball bearing may fall out. You gotta make sure you don't lose that ball bearing. Alright, you wanna make sure you don't cross thread this or anything. Alright, so for this next part, you wanna screw in your gear puller, and you wanna make sure it fits in nice and snug. It goes in about maybe 5-6 threads deep. That's about it. And you just want to make sure that's tightened up. So I'm going to do that, and we'll get to the next part. Alright guys, to be clear, and I counted this just to make sure, I spun this in 9 full revolutions before it goes tight all the way in. So you want to try and get as much as possible as you can on it. Alright. Alright, one other thing to note, guys, the nut that I took off originally is 18 millimeter, which is directly crossed over to a 3/4, so you can use either socket for that. This is 14 millimeter, or you could use 9/16 on this. So either a 14 millimeter wrench or 9/16 socket. They both fit perfect, but alright. One other thing to note, guys, when you pull this off after you use your little puller, you're gonna have a woodruff key, and don't lose it, because you're gonna need to put it back in that slot up there and put your piece back on. Alright, let me get this cleaned up what I'm doing, and I'll get back to you in a minute. Alright guys, so I know people get clutch slip and stuff. There's a few little things to this that people aren't realizing. So when you get your clutch plate like this, the best thing you could do, rub it all over some rough concrete. Get a nice scratchy surface. It really helps the pads button. But yeah, scratch it all up like that. Make sure it's got a nice scratched up surface, just like that. And it works awesome. Now, the other thing too is, you know, your plate goes like this, and it pushes pressure. And everyone thinks it just pushes on these pads, right? Well, the back side, if you see in there, the part that's moving in the background, that's the opposite side of the pressure plate. So if this is all gummed up with oil and shit like this one has, if you can see, it's got some from sitting in. Well, what you want to do is take a piece of sandpaper and slide it between these two and rough up that surface as well. So I'm going to go get some emery paper, rough this up quick, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I worked it back and forth a few minutes. So you can see it's just scratched up the surface. Alright, so all I do is just take a piece of emery cloth, slide it this way, and back and forth. So you get it all nice and scratched up. So now when this surface that's all scratched up, when the two put pressure on each other, the back of the rubber will grab that and the top of the rubber will grab this one. So you get a nice grippy surface on both plates. So a lot of people don't realize if you get shit on the back side of this one up in there, you know, your rubber is actually sliding on this surface then. So you're losing an entire grip surface. So I know people make these fancy plates and all that, but you know, the upgraded pads are better. But you just scratch them up like this, scratch them up like that, put your pads in, make sure it's all degreased, put it back together, and you got one hell of a clutch that grips. Anyways, I hope that helped someone. But yeah, that back surface there is overlooked a lot. So I'm going to install this back on there, and hopefully soon we'll get the YD100 rebuilt. But yeah, I just wanted to scratch up the back plate and stuff and show you how to take that off. Alright, peace. The next thing I want to explain is this flower nut click. What I did is I compressed my lever up there with the hold pin. Now I push this in and hand tighten it all the way up until this plate stops wiggling any. And then what I do is I back it off 2 notches from the hole that I stop at. Alright guys, so I backed this off 2 turns. So I stopped at this one, all as tight as it would go, with the lever pressed in. And then I backed it off 1, 2. So now the plate has just a little tiny bit of wobble. And what did it, oh, I'm pushing on it. If you spin it by hand now, it'll slip enough. And then when I release my lever, now it's all locked together. Alright, so make sure you put your little tiny set screw in there too, or this flower nut can come flying off. Alright, one last thing to note, these gears need to have grease on them. If you run these dry, they will turn to dust. So what I do is this, I put some grease in here. Hold on, I gotta set my grease gun. Give me 1 sec, I'll show you what I do in a second. Alright, so what I do is I just kind of coat the small sprocket's teeth with grease. And that's it. That's all you really need. Once it goes around and around a few times, it'll coat everything and you'll be good to go. But yeah, try and get a good amount in the teeth. And as this goes around, it'll coat itself. So make sure you put some grease on that. Alright, so what I had, I just spun around a few times just so you could see what happens. But it gets in all the teeth. The more it goes around, the more it'll evenly coat. But that's about all you want. You don't want to get any in this area. The way that those teeth are aimed and stuff, it'll actually draw the grease in, and anything here will go outward. So hopefully you don't get any excess on your pads, but that's the goal. So alright, I'm going to put a new seal on that, button it up, and we're good to go.